All right, welcome in, Cube Show podcast. Man, week 13 was a wild one, not only in the SEC, but nationally. We're going to get to all the SEC games, let you know what I saw in the film, spend some time on that, break it down for you. Might even throw in a little rivalry week preview at the end. Just a quick thought on each game, what I like about each side, some of the things that need to happen for each side to be able to go and find a win. We had some massive upsets this weekend. We had some surprise performances by individual players, both good and bad. We're going to talk about it all right here on Cube Show this week. We're brought to you each week by Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. If they don't have them in your grocery store by now, you need to be going to them and saying, what's going on? We need our Wickles Pickles here. Please get them. If you want, go to wicklespickles.com. They'll drop ship those to you. It's easy. They'll get them right to your house. You can also pick up some gear, hats, different things like that, T-shirts, aprons, wicklespickles.com, wickedly delicious. Find them on Instagram at Wickles Pickles. They're going to give you a lot of cool stuff and a lot of ways to use them, different recipes that they have, and you'll fall in love with them just like my family has. Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. Trying to get cozy here in this little chair before we get going on the games this weekend. I was in Baton Rouge. Love going to Tiger Stadium. I think it's a special place, specifically at night. It's always fun to be there. It's always just different, cool. Crowd was good. You wondered kind of coming off that last loss what it was going to look like, what people were going to think, dropping a couple in a row, but thought LSU bounced back. Now, was it a perfect game? No. Dominant game? Not really. I actually think the score 24-17, not even quite indicative of how tight this game was. But it didn't feel like Vanderbilt was going to be able to get enough going offensively to be able to win this football game. It just didn't feel like it was going to happen. Vanderbilt's got to find a consistent rushing attack. If they're going to be able to go out and find a way to win against Tennessee, or even keep this thing going next year if they figure out a way to, the rushing attack is going to have to be more consistent. And that's not just the quarterback leaving the pocket. They've got to find, in my opinion, different ways for Cedric Alexander, A.J. Newberry to get the ball. And Alexander had 9 for 24, but you got to get him going. He's too dynamic. Newberry just 3 carries. And I don't think he had much from a receiving standpoint. Didn't have a catch. Stowers just 2 catches. I mean, he's got to be involved with what you're going to do. Whit Weeks did a good job defending him in this game. But you know what the game plan is going to be. And I thought it was sort of milk the clock, win time of possession again against a team that you know is going to pitch it around and probably have a big advantage athletically on the outside. Did not do a good enough job being able to get home with 4. Didn't know if Capers and those guys would be able to affect Garrett Nussmeier. And you didn't see enough of it really in this game. And I thought later in the game, what Clark Lee told me at halftime was, playing them with split safeties was going to be too much trouble against the run game. So I thought they brought more defenders up. They pressured a little bit more. That helped. And I thought neutralized a little bit the LSU offense in the second half. LSU just still really stubborn with running the football. I'm going to be honest with you. And in this game, they go out and run for 142. Okay, great. But, it's not really, it's not consistent enough for me personally. This is my opinion. Josh Williams, 14 for 90. I thought he was great. Over 6.5 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, but they came in chunks. Now, talking to some of the guys on staff, it's something where they want the RPO game to be married up to it. And I'm just going to tell you that there are certain points in time that I don't give a shit about your RPO game. Like, you've got to go out and do what's best for your football team. The stretch play is proven. It's been working. Alabama, first play, I think 7th play, and then you come back to it in the third quarter. Now, you go back to last week, and it was going. They had it. It was there. Get in the pistol formation, even things up, hand the ball off. It doesn't all have to have attachments and options and different things that you can build off of it. Sometimes you need to control the football game, and running the football is the way to do that. Whether that's control the clock, whether that's getting ahead of the chains, staying ahead of the chains, whether that is pushing your opponent around and physically imposing your will on them. And when you've got guys up front, like Will Campbell and company, you can do that, specifically with a tight end that you can attach and running backs that can tote it. You've got to be able to go out and do that. The difference is you have to give yourself that chance to go do that. I've said all year long, I think the LSU offensive line has been, the criticism is deserved. To the extent that they've been criticized, I do not think is deserved. Because when you allow elite edge defenders in this league to just tee off on you, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, the best offensive lines in college football history wouldn't hold up against some of these groups. Let's go down and look through the schedule for LSU quickly. All right, South Carolina. We know what Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard can do. Ole Miss, Princely Umanalayan and those guys, we know that they can get after you. They got more than one edge rusher. I mean, Landon Jackson at Arkansas, A&M, Nick Scorton, Shamar Turner, and those guys. You put 18 out wide, he's going to be able to get to you. You know, Alabama before Quindarius Robinson went down had a pretty good pass rush. Florida has guys that can get you off the edge and inside. So you can't allow those things to take place. And still think they got a little too drop back heavy in the second half. Now, you've got weapons on the outside. Kyron Lacey did some good things. I thought the offensive line held up well from a protection standpoint. This wasn't one of the stronger groups that they were going to use. Aaron Anderson's got to be there in the quick game. Got a couple more to him in this one, but he needs to be heavily involved. I do not think Mason Taylor was 100% for this game based on how his leg was wrapped up and how close attention they were paying to it when he would come off the field. But he's a guy, too, that's got to be there to be able to help out. And you've got Chris Hilton. You've got Xavion Thomas that could help you in the quick game or be extensions of the run game that you could utilize a little bit more and be able to help these things out. Had a couple shot plays down the field that I thought were there. Couldn't hit them, couldn't come up with them. But all in all, it was a strong performance by Nuss. You get the win. You just had to get a win here. When you're in this spot, just go get a win and then build on it, add, subtract what you like, didn't like, and then move on. But Brian Kelly likes his team, likes where the mentality was. This was one of those litmus tests of teams that had been in the playoff discussion or postseason discussion as far as a championship game was concerned, and now we're out of it. How are they going to react? And physically, I felt like LSU showed up because Vanderbilt's not a pushover in the trenches anymore. Doesn't mean they're dominant in the offensive line, but they're not a team that's going to back down from you and you're just going to be able to bully for 4 quarters. It's not going to work that way. I mentioned Whit Weeks, thought he had a really nice game. I'm just going to tell you guys, Braden Swinson is incredible. I know he was suspended a little bit last week, but he does so much off the edge, in space, just really a valuable player for what LSU has and what LSU wants to do. I thought Jordan Gilbert had a nice game coming up playing the run. He's pretty physical. Zy Alexander did some good things out on the perimeter. Safety play, probably still not where they want it. Savion Jones, great effort off the edge again. You're going to get him going 100 miles an hour for every game. But they bottled up an offense that was a little bit weird, does some things differently. They knew what was coming. We talked to Blake Baker. He said, we are going to attack off the edge. We've got to force them into decisions. That's going to be a reoccurring theme today for this show. Just keep in mind defensively, we're going to talk about that a lot. And he allowed his guys to do it. He turned them loose, but he didn't overdo it, which we've mentioned multiple times on this show this year with D coordinators that have just overdone it, whether it's been slants, whether it's been twists, just pressures, just calm the F down every now and then and let your guys play football and you'll be okay. Sometimes the extra movement works out, but it doesn't have to be every game, every play, every snap. I thought Blake Baker did a nice job of not overdoing it in this game against Vanderbilt because you needed to keep the quarterback bottled up. You didn't need to let him get free out of the pocket, running around. He still made some plays. He had the one really nice pump fake when he was rolling right, got the feet off the ground, was able to duck down, go pick up a few yards. But you didn't allow him to get going. Diego Pavia did not take over this game. 13-24, 186, a touchdown. Had the big play early where you bust the coverage. Okay, that's fine. You bounce back. And that was another sign that I think this LSU team emotionally was dialed in, is that they got up off the mat right away. I mean, they took a big shot to the kidney stones, got up. Yes, that was intentional. Got up and then rallied back, played hard for the rest of the game. I give them a lot of credit for that. Pavia 6 for 43 on the ground. Had one rushing touchdown. I thought he showed toughness. I thought he showed grit. There just wasn't a lot there for him, and teams are going to let him sit in the pocket. I asked Blake Baker about that, and he goes, no, we've seen it. He goes, it really – and honestly, Clark Lee told us that he's noticed it as well. They've got to find some answers. Tim Beck, who deserves a lot more credit for what they've done this year, said, yeah, we've got to find some alternate ways to be able to use our weapons, get him out of the pocket, do some different things, because we understand that we're not athletic enough to just let Diego sit in the pocket. And listen, he's got a strong arm. It's just he doesn't have the kind of arm to sit there and just pick people apart for 4 quarters. They're letting him do it. It's become a little bit of a problem. But either way, they've got some answers. It's just with this game, the way LSU's geared to score, you aren't going to be able to keep up that way. And you go back to what's the recipe been for Vanderbilt this entire season? 3rd downs, they were 2 of 10. Couldn't get it going. So possession actually belonged to LSU, 34 minutes and 43 seconds. They're going to have to find alternate ways in this league now that people have caught on a little bit to what they're doing. Not all of it, but a little bit of it, and their style of play. they're now able to counter that, and they're going to make your life a little bit more difficult. Solid win for LSU, needed it. Still a good season for Vanderbilt. They have a chance to still, cap it off with a big win against Tennessee next week, and we'll see if they can do that. All right, another massive one. All right, don't forget about True Classics. Either the holidays are here, you're going to need new gear. Maybe you're looking for gifts for a loved one. True Classics has the items that you need. True Classics, ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now. Unlock big savings at trueclassic.com/cube, CUBE, and you can save even more by using our discount code. Activewear, listen, moisture wicking, quick dry, odor control. You can mix and match clothing to work with your lifestyle. 100% perfect fit guarantee and easy returns. Trusted by over 4 million customers and 200,000 plus reviews. True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for the man in your life this holiday season. Fall and winter must-haves, long sleeve Henleys, waffle hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers, and more. Premium products at an affordable price. Shirts that define your best features. Listen, I'm a bigger guy. I don't have a perfect fit. I got bigger chest, weird waist, love handles. True Classics has the clothes that fit me the way that I need them to, and not going to make me look bad or be uncomfortable when I've got them on. Best-selling t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more in packs of 3, 6, or 9. So do this right now. trueclassics.com/cube. Support our show, number one. Number two, go save a little extra money and get some people some new gear this holiday season. Alabama 3, Oklahoma 24. You'd have thought that I had that one backwards, but I didn't. This one has a lot of layers to discuss, so I want to go ahead and try to jump into it. Before I do that, I'll let you know we're brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. Go to bluedeltajeans.com, custom fit denim. They are stretchy, they are flexible. I've got my Blue Delta jeans on right now. Don't even know if you can see it, but I wear them every week for Read and React. It's all I like to wear because they're stretchy, and for bigger guys like me, they're not difficult to move around in. They stay comfortable. They fit you the right way. BlueDeltaJeans.com, Christmas around the corner. Get a gift card for your loved one. They will love them, and they'll love you for getting them for them. Blue Delta Jeans. Tell them you heard of them right here on Cube Show. All right, Jalen Milroe goes 18 of 26, 164, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The Alabama running backs, Jay Miller goes 12 of 45. Justice Haynes goes 3 for 18. Yeah, longs of 9 and 7. And it was a rough day for the Alabama offense. A lot of you are not giving enough credit to the Oklahoma defense for what they did to offset that. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I love the Alabama plan, but there were parts of it that if it's executed properly were there. Yards were there. First thing, Jalen Milroe taking 90-degree turns to the sideline is not going to work. And if you're not okay running the football, you should probably just make your coordinator or your head coach aware of that and say, don't call that anymore, or just get out of it. And there were multiple times that happened. I charted it, and I'd say somewhere between 50 and 70 yards he left on the field. And sometimes big yards that could have moved the chains or gave him better field position or just maintained possession for a little while and gotten your defense off the field. That was one thing. The other thing that I immediately noticed is the attempts at one-handed receptions. Ryan Williams had one over the middle of the field, not there. Running back out of the backfield check down, drops a ball right in his chest. The Ryan Williams penalty play, listen, it was wrong. It was a wrong call. And I don't know if Alabama climbs back into the game. They had a quarter of football left. You would have been down 2 scores. Who knows? But they didn't move the ball very well the entire day. He had 70 yards rushing and 164 yards passing. So to be confident that happens, even with the momentum swing, I don't know, because you didn't get a lot of stops. Oklahoma ran 49 times for 260 yards. We'll get into that in just a moment. But the Alabama offense, here's one thing that sticks out to me when I watch film. And this isn't super technical. This is not like X's and O's or anything, but I don't know if you guys notice this when you watch football or not. And maybe I see it sometimes because like when I rock things back and forth and I watch it, you notice this. A lot of times when there's a collision, guard up on a linebacker, tight end pulling on a counter play, just running back on linebacker or safety, an offensive guard pulling around on a defensive end. A lot of times when you see the the person delivering the blow and the person receiving the blow. And when that's not about even, a lot of times what happens is you get that initial pop, and one of the helmets, when those two hit together, and it's pretty evenly distributed as far as leverage, and one of those helmets is jarred back immediately. Like you see one of the helmets, like they hit and one of them pops back really quick. It's like, they come together and one goes bam. And it's just that quick snap that you see. And to me, it signifies that other person delivered that blow. That person clearly received that blow. There's not a lot of film out there where Alabama is on the receiving end of those 5 or 6 times in a game. And they were. A lot of them were when Alabama was on offense. You had tight end pulling around one time, and he gets one from an edge defender. You had an offensive lineman pull one time. He gets one from a linebacker. A running back carrying the ball got one. I know Bauer Sharp pulled around and handed one to a DB one time. But it showed me that physically Oklahoma showed up for this game and probably was the more physical football team collectively. Doesn't mean every play, every snap, every player, every matchup, but it said a lot to me because I don't see that happen to Alabama very often. That's a minute detail that I pay attention to, and that it's not something that decides every game or gives me a thought process on how or why things took place on every game, but it stuck out to me in this game because it was one of the things Oklahoma was going to have to do to win this game. All right, the defensive plan for Oklahoma. I want to give Zach Alley and Brent Venables a lot of credit for what they did in this game. A lot of the stunts just flat worked. And we've talked about Oklahoma's run stunts, the defensive tackle twists where one guy, he slams down and the other guy loops around. 3 different instances where that looper sitting right there in the gap. Just running back coming in. Oh, loop man, there he is. Now, easy to say offensive line didn't switch it off. Okay, well, some of it could just be that it was executed properly and their stunt got you in your blocking scheme. Listen, I've had many coordinators in my day that I played for say, hey guys, you know what? They got us there. Let's move on to the next play. It's my bad call. Like we wouldn't have run that again, or we would get out of that if that happened to us there. That probably happened to Nick Sheridan multiple times in this game. Like, they just got us. But listen, when you're playing blackjack, sometimes you have the ability to split aces. Sometimes you hit blackjack. Sometimes when you're playing roulette, that ball lands on your number. Sometimes it hits, green 00 and you're on it. Like things sometimes just go your way. And I know that oversimplifies this, but I really did feel that way on both sides of the ball. A lot of what Oklahoma tried, both offensively and defensively, worked. That's game planning. That's execution. I don't think it just means it's a lack of adjustments. As a matter of fact, we are getting way too lazy and way too flippant with how we're throwing around. They didn't adjust. Number one, it's hard for me to watch a game live and immediately see things that people adjust to. McElroy will tell you the same thing. We talked about it this morning on our show. I talked to Roman about it today. Roman's like, hell, I can't even tell adjustments in coverage a lot of times watching a game live. So we got to stop with this whole right after a game saying they didn't make any adjustments or why didn't they adjust? Because I did see the adjustments, because one thing I hated about Alabama's plan was this little 3-down look that they ran. And Greg and I argued about this morning. He said he didn't have a problem with it. I did. But when you run this 3-down look and all of a sudden you're taking, number 4 and you're backing him up and you're letting Quay Russaw sort of be this roaming creeper, maybe linebacker, maybe defensive lineman, which he would be better at it than maybe a guy like L.T. Overton would, who was asked to do it. James Smith was asked to do it. Jamarian Latham was asked to do it. Like, those guys don't need to be creeping and walking around and walking up like they may blitz. They may drop in coverage. Like, that's not what they do. They need hands on people. They need to be rushing off the edge. It was a little cute, in my opinion. And I feel like coming into this game with an offensive line that's been beat to hell, has not played good, damn sure hasn't pushed anybody around this year to no fault of their own. It's not Bill Bedenbaugh's fault. It's not the individual's fault. They got guys injured, guys out of the portal. They had guys leave to go to the NFL. They had guys left in the portal. It's just been a tough situation. They're not a mauling group. It's not who they are. You should have been able to line up in your base defense and play them straight up the entire game. That's my opinion. It's not Monday morning quarterbacking. It's not saying that Kane Wommack's a bad coordinator. It's just he tried something that didn't work. And me personally, I didn't like it. It wasn't my flavor of ice cream for this game. Okay, cool. We'll move on. The other thing that I despised about Alabama's plans, and listen, guys, I would tell Kane and I could have this conversation. I would tell him because he would ask my opinion and I would let him know. And then he'd say, you know what, you're probably right. Or he would say, you're an idiot. This is why we did this. And he and I would still be friends and it wouldn't be a big deal. Just like he and Kalen DeBoer can probably have that conversation. Pressure from distance. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it when I was watching it. I didn't understand it when I was going back. Roman and I talked about it getting ready for Read and React. Greg and I talked about it this morning. Why with a team that has never this entire season, not one single point this year, have they lived in the drop back game? Doesn't mean they haven't tried to drop back and throw the football, but they ain't lived there all year. Why? They can't. They can't protect. They don't have a quarterback that could get through the progressions well enough. They don't have a quarterback make good enough decisions to do it. Like Jackson Arnold, I've told you guys early in the season, Oklahoma has a quarterback problem, a Jackson Arnold problem. Quick game, boom, 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 ball out, mesh, ball out. He's awesome. He's great. He's deliberate. He's accurate. Throws a good tempo ball. He gets it. If he needs to pull it and run, he can do that. But once we get into the drop back game of just surveying things and seeing it, making those decisions, no, sir, not there. Michael Hawkins Jr., a little bit better, but also maybe seeing some ghosts at times. They haven't lived there. Well, the only way that your pressures from distance, in my opinion, and I'm talking about corner crash, I'm talking about safeties walking up and coming off the edge a little bit late, like from distance. The only way that's going to affect you is if people are trying to spend a lot of time in the pocket. And honestly, the way that a lot of it worked out for Oklahoma was it gave them a little extra time to navigate it. Some of the slower developing run plays didn't immediately run into problems. Remember what I said about Oklahoma? They crashed off the edge. Maybe I didn't say this yet on this show. I don't know if I said this earlier or not. I'm sorry. Done a lot of media since I went through this game. I did my show this morning, Read and React, did Feinbaum today. But what I thought they did off the edge, Oklahoma, is they took some of their lighter, sleeker edge defenders, like R. Mason Thomas, who can absolutely get it off the edge, like Ethan Downs, who can absolutely rip off the edge. And they said, you know what? We're going attack mode. We're going to make Jalen Milroe make decisions earlier than he wants to. And we think that will be problematic. And for a lot of the game, it was. It just was. It forced him into the wrong reads, either keeping the ball or handing the ball off. It forced him into delivering the football earlier than he wanted to, or maybe to targets that he didn't want to. It worked for a portion of the game, not every snap, but it was effective with how they handled it and how they did it. Reverse that psychology with Alabama. You have a nickel coming from 5-8 yards off the ball, or a corner coming from 12 yards out. That gives some of our slower developing running plays, because they only threw the ball, 9 times, 11 times in the game? Jackson Arnold was 9 of 11. So it didn't matter half the time if you're dropping back, because they probably never really had a real drop back. Some of those plays now have time to develop and sort of work some things out. The other thing that Oklahoma did offensively that I absolutely loved in this game was influence. Now, that would be my word of the game when talking about this game in particular, because I thought defensively, I thought Oklahoma did a nice job influencing Jalen Milroe into some things. And I think offensively, they did a nice job influencing Alabama's defense into some things. So when you normally run a zone read, you guys know how this works. Running back's over here to my right. He comes down. I hold the ball out. That's our quarterback mesh, if you will. I'm gonna ride that. So I'll either hand it to him if that defensive end's playing flat. I'm gonna pull it and I'm gonna run. Or if he just stays where he is, I got to hand that thing off, which Jalen Milroe had multiple handoffs in this game. We're going to go back and forth because these two offenses, there are some similarities in maybe what should have, could have happened and what did and didn't work. A bunch that he pulled that he shouldn't have. Well, offensively, what Oklahoma did is they said, normally, when that quarterback pulls it, it's just me and him right there. Well, what Oklahoma likes to do is they run a lot of split zone. You guys have heard us talk about it. Zone block to the left, splitter comes across. Well, they'll use him in the zone read game. So zone read, zone play to the left. I might keep it. Splitter coming across, split zone. They used him as an influencer a lot of times. And I'm not talking like a lot of the phonies on Instagram that think they know everything about college football because they pretend about NIL value. But they would use him as an influencer to say, oh, that must be the lead blocker. We'll trail with him. Well, there was another influencer that was coming that would all of a sudden give them two bodies coming out. Or if they were going to run, they ran some traps where the quarterback went north and south. That worked a couple of times. So now either the safety or the backer is coming across with these pullers or influencers, and there's an extra body, and all you can see them on film going, oh, well, they would immediately run with those guys. And here comes the quarterback with extra defenders following those guys out, able to hit north and south. Joe John Finley, very nice plan. Very good job with two back sets. Very good job with that inverted bone, the diamond set, as people call it. Very good job with your tight ends and your pullers. They influenced the shit out of the Alabama defense. They got them out of place. They stole their eyes. They got them out of position. And when you start to think on defense, you are not playing aggressive football. And there wasn't a lot of defenders for Alabama that could play very aggressively because they were thinking and seeing things that they were unsure about. It was a nice plan. They knew better than to put this game in Jackson Arnold's hands. Well, through the air, that is. They put in his hands on the ground, and he's a good enough runner. I don't know if I'd go as far to say dynamic runner, but he's a really good runner. He can break you down. He can give you some explosive plays. So maybe he is dynamic as a runner. I thought Billy Bowman had a really nice game. Danny Stutzman was great, man. Like, not huge numbers, but he forced some things to bounce, and he got to some places that he had to get to that were just big. The interior guys were massive, and they have been all year. Folks, we need to start talking about Jaden Jackson, Oklahoma defensive tackle, as one of the better defensive linemen in the SEC and maybe one of the better defensive linemen in college football. I'm not talking about one of the better freshman defensive linemen or true freshman defensive linemen or one of the newcomers of the year. Stop the sentence before all that. He is one of the best defensive linemen in college football. He can strike and shed. He can anchor. He can penetrate. He can float back behind in games. The kid can literally do everything you're asked to do as an interior defensive lineman, and he does them all well. He moves well. He makes tackles in space, one-on-one by himself when asked to inside. When things get out of whack, he can rush the passer. He can give you a bull rush. He's got some quicks that he can break you down. Like, he is an all-around player, and he was fantastic in this game. Grayson Halton, who's been coming on for them last couple weeks, was great. Dejon Terry was great. I mentioned the edge guys. Like, they were phenomenal in this game, more so by what they caused and what they forced than the actual plays that they make. And then there's Kip Lewis, the guy that can, like, the literal cheetah of this defense. I stole that from Jeff Collins because there was an actual position called cheetah in his defense that he would try to take the fastest player they had and put him at. But if there is a cheetah of this Oklahoma defense, it is Kip Lewis. And I think it's time for us to also have the debate of who has owned the state of Alabama in college football more this year, Diego Pavia or Kip Lewis. And I don't know if you've had a guy that has had pick sixes in the same year against Auburn and Alabama. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened. I mean, maybe it has. I'm sure it has. Tell me who it is in the comments, but I can't remember a guy doing that in the same year. Either way, he's had a great year. Another pick six for him. And there's a lot of you that just immediately point that finger to Jalen Milroe on that play. First and foremost, wide receiver up front's got to have that stalk block. You can't miss that. There's another part of this, though. Ryan Williams is literally looking down, picking up his legs, trying to make sure that he's not taking any fire down there around the knees and ankles, and that ball is just going right into Kip Lewis's hands. That can't happen. I understand your guy got blown up or didn't make the block or didn't get in the way or whatever, but, like, you got to go attack that football. Like, that has to be done. And McElroy said this morning, and he said, he really is smart every now and then, and I'm going to steal a couple things from him. He said, Alabama's become too quarterback dependent. And I think when people hear him say that, they're immediately going to think, oh, yeah, like, he's got to run the ball and throw the ball well for them to be successful. That's not what he's saying to you. That's a part of what he's saying to you. But what he's saying to you right there is they go as he goes. And Alabama has had counter punches always. whether it's an Irv Smith at tight end, or a Mark Ingram at running back, or a Derrick Henry at running back, or an Amari Cooper at receiver, or Devonta Smith at receiver. There's always been the yin and the yang. It's never been completely overloaded to one guy. Now, listen, Devonta got a lot of balls, but they could also turn and hand it to Najee. Amari Cooper got a lot of balls, but Blake Sims could pull the ball and run it himself if he had to. Like, there's always been the other side of it and the ways to balance things out. And it feels like this team is overly dependent on Jalen's individual success. Now, some of that is delivering the football to other guys, but that's a part of it. And Greg also said this earlier today, and I had not thought about this. He said that play on that screen that was intercepted and run back may be the worst rep that Jalen Milroe has had at Alabama. And I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I kind of bought into it. Because I kind of disagree with him on the throw, because that's a catch, quick turn, and throw. Do you see that defender there and have to immediately say, I got to throw it in the stands? Okay, possibly. That's tough. I'm not going to be as hard on that. You go to make the tackle and you try to give him the Ronaldo slide tackle going out of bounds. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. That's bullshit. It's Bush League. It's an attempt at a cheap shot. You can crack a guy's leg in half doing that. That's bad ball, man. I don't know another way to say it. It is bad ball. It's weak. And I may have benched his ass right then and there just for that. That's how strongly I feel about that. I mean, you see offensive linemen and defensive linemen sometimes trying to leg whip one another. I'd tell you the same thing with those guys. I would tell you the exact same thing. It's cheap, man. You cannot do it. There's no place for it in the game. There just isn't. Not if you respect it. Cannot do it. Now, made a mistake, move on. Hopefully doesn't do it again. Past that, you jump up out of that and you immediately, in front of 90,000 people and another 10 million at home, go over and MF your wide receiver right there in front of everybody. And you could see it with the body language that he was getting after him. You can't do that, man. You're the quarterback of the team. And certain people will say, oh, well, when do you want to save it for? When do you want him to give it to him? You can give it to him all you want. It doesn't have to be delivered that way in front of those people who are going to interpret it the way you did, I did, and we know everybody else would. Like, look at him undressing that guy right there in front of everyone. Pull him to the sideline, get your wits about you, and tell him he's got to get his act together. And tell him that you need more from him. And tell him you're relying on him to be a playmaker on this football team, and we can't have any more of that. But that right there, the Bill Romanowski mentality of taking it out on your receivers right there, no, can't do it. You cannot do it. There's a reason Dennis Rodman wasn't the leader of the team. Like, the hotheads are not the leaders of the team because people don't often react to that very well. I mean, listen, I didn't need to be MF'd by my coach. I was harder. I was 100 times harder on myself than anyone could ever be on me. And I feel like, one, your coaches should know that. Two, you should be coached that way. And the guys who are nonchalant about screwing up, they needed somebody in their face. But the guys who internally beat themselves up over it, I've never thought needed to be ridden like that. And you got a kid that's made a lot of big plays for you and that you were going to need the rest of that game, who you mentally just took a major shot at and emotionally just took a major shot at. You can't do it. You can't do it. Not like that. You've got to deliver that message in a different way. You've got to deliver that message in a different place. Just think about the message. Think if he says the exact same things that he said, but he goes up to him calmly and he puts his arm around him and they walk off the field together and he sits there, you MF son of a, if I ever see you again, and he keeps his demeanor about him walking off the field like that. Think about what it is to everyone else and think about that person that's having it done to him. They're probably taking that in a very different way. Even though they still don't like it, they're still not cool with it per se. But they also know deep down inside, all these other people aren't thinking, man, that poor guy. Or, ooh, he's getting it. He's getting his ass chewed. It's just different. And when you're the quarterback and you need to be presidential, you need to be the leader of the team, you can't operate that way. Other things that happened in this game. I love the quarterback runs. I love the design of them. Extra pullers, influence pullers, traps. I mean, it was Joe John Finley was in his bag, man, and they had it cooking. But I will say this: that interception, I don't put solely on Jalen. Now, the one where he just stares him down and throw. I mean, that one was bad. And then he takes a shot on the third one. I mean, that's definitely not on him. The right tackle struggled. The right tackle did not play well. I don't think the offensive line as a whole played well. I don't think that the bonus bigs, tight ends, really played well. I didn't see a lot of Robbie Utes in this game. I don't know what his snap count was, but I didn't see him in a whole ton. C.J. Dupree was in a little bit. I don't think he had his best blocking game. But you've got Dupree and Utes who you could have put over there at right tackle and widened that surface a little bit and given a bigger body to maybe help out a little bit. And I don't think that happened enough. So that was a little bit of a problem. And listen, so here we go again with the PFF stuff, okay? So I got people tweeting out today that Elijah Pritchett in the last 3 games has been a 31.7 pass block, a 42.9 pass block, a 38.275 pass block. For PFF, get rid of the decimal points. It makes no sense. Nothing's graded that way in football. It's not a real thing. Stop it. It's pluses and minuses, guys. That's how you're graded. There's a numeric system with some anatomical chart, periodic table, whatever the hell you're trying to do. It's ridiculous. It's trying to make people think they're smarter than they are, is what it is. It's like, we're going to put this fancy number on this, and everybody's going to think we know more football than everybody else. I've told you before, it has its place. I'm not hating on all of it. Stop posting these numbers to shit on guys when you yourself don't know what it means. If I told you right now, I graded at 42.7 in pass blocking, out of what? What are you grading? Is it technique? Is it fundamentals? Is it assignment? Is it effort? Is it all of it? You don't know. We don't know. And I understand the guy goes and says, Google it. Oh, they got their whole criteria here, blah, blah, blah. That only makes me ask more questions about it. Who's doing it? Who's watching it? What do they know? Who have they talked to? Where have they learned? I need to know. But stop using this to shit on guys. Stop. You don't think Elijah Pritchett knows he fucked up in this game? He knows. But we don't need a mythical math number to try and double down on guys having bad games. Quit. We know he struggled. What are you, Billy Badass, because you gone and put people's bad grades up? What is that? What is that? Just say, hey, the guy struggled at right tackle. Guy got his ass kicked at right tackle. Cool. There it is. He got smoked multiple times. I feel like that does it. I feel like we're good with that. It's fine. We're good. There it is. And for the guy tweeting into the show last week, say I complain too much, don't listen to this episode. Just turn it off. Go to something else if you don't like it. I'm going to tell you what I see and how I feel about it. And there's too many people that don't know what these grades mean, don't know what's being graded, don't know who's grading it, and using it as the football gospel. And it isn't. I got guys tweeting me back today when I quote tweeted it. Well, it looks like plain and simple offensive line stats. There are no offensive line stats. Number of pancakes in a game, fine. Some of those are even questionable because guys get tripped and they fall over other people, whatever. Just say the guy had a bad game. It should be enough. But no, I have to be important and make it look like I know more because I found these numbers that I don't know what the hell they are, and I'm going to put them out there like I know shit. Stop! Where does the decimal point come from? Like, what is that? We got graded on 3 things. We got graded on effort, we got graded on technique, and we got graded on assignment. And there was never a decimal point in any of them. No football player has been graded with a something point anything at any point in the whole history of football. It's not real. It isn't. But by God, we're going to use it as, this is the definitive number and way that we're going to judge everybody everywhere. The guy sucked the other night. He did. But he would tell you that. We don't need pretend numbers to double down on it to make you look good to say how bad he was. But we'll do it. We'll throw him out there. Offensive line wasn't good. Another thing, I had to drive to New Orleans from Baton Rouge. And I was like, you know what? I'll fire up a podcast or two, listen just to like what people are saying about this game. You people talking about Milroe getting benched, stop, man. Milroe didn't play well. Milroe's got flaws. Milroe's got things to correct. There's a reason he's in the game. Kid runs 23 miles an hour. Got a strong arm. He physically gives you the best chance to win. That's it. I'm going to put a period at the end of that statement because it's done right there. That's all. It's over. All right? And so I hear on this podcast, I hear the whole, I guess they didn't have the PFF grades yet. I hear the whole Elijah Pritchett thing, and he's the worst offensive lineman ever, and this is the worst Alabama offensive line ever, and it's the worst performance they've ever seen by an offensive line in an Alabama uniform, and Brody Coyle immediately came to mind. And they're, it's just the worst thing, and the world's falling, and our pets' heads are falling off, and, I hate my life. And then they said, Parker Brailsford is by far the worst game of his career, which I immediately thought, have they watched all the Washington tape? I don't know. And then I watched the game. Parker Brailsford played pretty damn good. Did he miss a few blocks? Yeah. I think he had a holding called on him. May have had two. I don't watch it. I didn't watch the TV copy, so I don't know. But I saw two flags on two that were questionable on him. One of them, if it was called on him, shouldn't have been. But I don't know if it was. And because I heard that before I watched it. So I guess I went in with that mentality of, man, I guess Brailsford just gets smoked. Nope. Played hard. Played really hard. Played physical. Played mean. Played nasty. And did a good job. But, we're just going to, he's the worst ever. So, hated seeing Deontay Lawson go down. I thought that was a little bit of a blow to Alabama. He's out the rest of the year. That's not great. I hate that for him. All right, that was a lot, and I apologize, but there's a couple of those things I had to just get out and just kind of let it go. So, Auburn 43, A&M 41. Loved Auburn's run plan in this game. Very questionable about the plan on both sides for A&M in this game. So A&M comes out and runs cement front, which is kind of three down, almost like an odd defense. You'll play the four eyes in some of the odd stuff that they play. They're an even defense. They play four down. And when you have the defensive end war daddies that they have, you should play four down. And when you have Shamar Turner inside that is a war daddy defensive tackle, you probably should do that because you can free him up to do some different things. Not real sure on regular downs. I haven't seen them do this much at all this season, but they did it in this game. And so then Auburn, it appears as though they switch up part of their run game and they go to this little mid zone. But it was interesting because it almost looked like, so when you run like sprint out protection, we just call it smoke. Basically, you just kind of like back into a wall. So like you just start backpedaling back into a wall. So you try to stay together, but like the wall's going to bend around. Think about it because your quarterback's like sprinting out. So you want to make sure nothing gets around the outside because that's going to be his blind side and he's going to get hit. And you can't really control much underneath because like you're hinging at like the left tackle or like the right tackle, and then you're coming back this way. And it allows you to kind of see everything, then you kind of pick it up as you go. But he's sprinting away, so you have time to kind of deal with it. It almost felt like that mindset in a little bit of a zone scheme. So they would like shuffle, slide a little bit to the right or to the left. They let everything play out. Also, A&M comes in, like we talked about with Oklahoma, tackle, twist. I think the first 3, 4, or 5 snaps of the game. Another thing I didn't think that they would do. The reason it bothers me a little bit is, and I know people won't like this from an Auburn perspective, but the A&M defensive line and defensive linemen are better than the Auburn offensive line and Auburn offensive line men. That doesn't mean every day it's going to just work out that way. You still got to go play. You still got to go execute. You still got to bring intensity. You still got to chew glass. You still got to make it happen. And I just don't think they needed the gimmicks, so to speak. And it's not gimmicky, but I don't know. They didn't need the stunts. Like they could have played that thing straight up and I think been fine. Auburn figured that out pretty early. They go to that. Hunter did a really nice job of kind of like going, because the cutbacks off of it were huge. And it's not like those big, massive cutbacks that you're thinking about. It's kind of like, okay, this is going to the front side B gap. It hits backside A gap. So it's really just like a two gap over cutback. And that thing got north and south in a hurry. You saw a lot of A&M defenders kind of floating, whether they were in a stunt or they were kind of waiting. Like I didn't feel like and this is not questioning their effort because their effort was still pretty good. But the A&M front, because of how it was called, I didn't feel like brought the fight to the Auburn offensive line or the Auburn offense in general. Now, they still made some plays. They still did some good, like Shamar made some plays, did some good things. But there's one specifically, I know. If you're watching the back of the A&M defense, Auburn's going to your right. So it's a left mid-zone, inside zone kind of play for Auburn. And he is on the backside guard, and he kind of swims and olays him, and that thing hits right there beside him. Can't do that. Not in that front playing that way when that scheme is coming at you. I think Auburn ran 2 gap scheme runs this entire game. Peyton Thorne did a really nice job protecting the football. He has gotten to be really good at avoiding the catastrophe plays, which we all know were miserable earlier in the year. He goes 19 of 31, 301, 2 touchdowns, did have a pick. Jarquez Hunter, 28 for 133 touchdowns. I said on Mac and Cube last week, 25 was a magic number. If he didn't get that, there's no way they'd win the game. He goes for 28. Had a couple catches too, but I'm going to tell you this, more so than that. Like, he played like his hair was on fire. He played like he hated everybody. He ran hard. He blocked. He got extra yards. He got yards when nothing was there. Like, he was by far the MVP of that game. I think he's the MVP of this team. And it was just really impressive to watch the way he operated in this game. It was just a very impressive game for him individually. Cam Coleman, 7 for 128, 2 touchdowns. That's back-to-back games for him. Unbelievable. First time in the history of Auburn football, Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith, that the same two receivers have had back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. Those 2 guys have done it. It's the first time it's ever happened in Auburn football. Keandre Lambert-Smith's been a dog. Like, he's been really a godsend for this Auburn offense. We said at the beginning of the season, you needed erasers. You need guys to help your quarterback. Those guys did it in this game. Some of the throws were there. Peyton made some good throws. Some of the throws you needed some help on. Now, some of those are like a freeze play. You get a guy jump, you just throw it. Okay, you go make a play. Cam Coleman did. But some of them were good throws, and they got a little bit of run after catch. Tight end didn't make a ton of catches, but Fairweather did have one big catch over on the sideline that they needed. He blocked a little bit better. It was an impressive performance. The pass protection was better than I thought. The play action allowed a lot of that. So play action protection is different. You can operate in a different way. You want that guy to believe a little bit early on that it's a run play. They're going to anchor. That buys you an extra second and a half. The back's going to be in there looking around a little bit as well. Eyes are going to kind of be stolen. Because of how they ran the ball early, the play action hits were able to come up over the top. It was a good game plan, but they had to run the ball first, and they made some quick adjustments to be able to get that going. Marcel Reed, 22 of 35, 297, 3 touchdowns, a pick. Noah Thomas was big, 5 for 124, 2 touchdowns. Johnny Walker made a couple really nice catches. Same thing with those guys. They helped him a lot. Wanted to see the tight ends involved a little bit more, and I didn't. I felt like A&M brought a little bit of an air raid mentality into this game when I kind of thought you were stepping into a heavyweight fight. Like, I thought this was going to be 2 teams, run the ball, play good defense, line of scrimmage game, possession, field position, last person with the ball wins. And obviously we go to multiple overtimes. It ends up being a crazy game, 4 of them. Auburn gets the win. The last pass, it hit the young man right in the face. He should every opportunity to catch that ball, continue that game. He doesn't. Auburn gets the win. Storming the field, I don't really care. It's a big win because Auburn needed it that bad. I think the elation of the fans showed you how hungry they were for a win, a decent win, a win that mattered to a certain extent. And this one did, because it's a conference team, it's a former divisional foe, and it was a ranked team. And it kept you with the ability to become bowl eligible. All of those things, I thought, were why the fans went as crazy as they did. Defensively, a lot of the same for Auburn. The edge defenders, Jalen McLeod, Kieron Crawford, and a little bit of DeMarcus Riddick did a nice job with a mobile quarterback. So they're athletically able to recover and pursue and do different things from different spots that other guys can't do. And Durkin allows them to do that. Some of the guys inside also had good games. And this was going to be a linebacker game, because a lot of what you needed at the point of attack was to sort of eat some things up, and the linebackers needed to sort of decipher and go run and make plays. It turned into a little bit more of a pass-happy game than you wanted it to, and that's where Durkin brought some of the edge rushers in a little bit later and allowed them to go out and make some plays. I thought Philip Leedy had a good game inside. We haven't talked about him a ton this year. Again, Quinchell Jamison Travis, 97, like making some things happen up front. Reed Hughes got in the game late, did some good things, like he adds an extra body that can help out. Oh, the other thing offensively is you take a tackle and put the 40s number on him and put him in at tight end too. Gives you a little extra oomph on offense for Auburn. I love that move. I think it's one that's good that can help out, especially this week against Alabama. You can have some kind of unbalance without showing unbalance, so to speak. And you might be able to do some things from an alignment perspective. I would not be surprised if there's some setups with that going into this game this weekend. Taron York and Scooby Williams were great for the A&M defense. They flew around, they made plays, and they're going to need them more than ever this weekend because you have to have second and third level defenders make plays in space against Texas. I'm telling you right now, 0 and 21, maybe along with a number 1, are the most important players for A&M. And I know what you're thinking. Like, no, this is Shamar Turner. This is Cassius Howell. You know, this is our D-line's got to get after these quarterbacks, specifically if, you get the first string quarterback tries to play and he's dinged up. He's having an MRI on his ankle. So we'll see if he goes. If not, Arch Manning plays. I think he'll be fine. But Quinn Ewers, if he goes or not, I still think Texas has the advantage at quarterback, but it's not getting to the quarterback as much as it is making those tackles in the open field because Sark is going to bludgeon the perimeter with guys that can absolutely burn, and you got to get them to the ground. That's what Georgia did. You got to get them to the ground. I don't think A&M tackled extremely well in this game. Those two did for the most part, but it was more of when guys got going north and south, and it was more letting balls get over their head in the secondary, a couple busted coverage, some missed assignments, some miscommunication back there that allowed Auburn to hit some of those big plays up top. Jaron Thompson was good. He had an interception. He came down physical, made some plays, got guys on the ground. DeMarcus Riddick's playing great. He's been a pleasant surprise for this defense. Don't like some of the things that are being said in the media pertaining to the Iron Bowl already this week, but hey, guys are their own guys. They're going to say what they're going to say, and there's not much that I can do about it. They're going to do what they do. All right, Texas, Kentucky real quick. Kentucky makes the change at quarterback. They go to Cutter Boley. They're going to go with him this week against Louisville. That's going to be tough. I think he's got a good, strong arm. You can tell he panics a little bit. He kind of gets rattled. However, Vanderbilt looks like he's panicking a lot of times when he takes a shotgun snap. Like he never truly seems to calm down. He can get you extra yards with his legs. He can extend plays. He's got a strong arm. But everything's 1,000 miles an hour, and he never seems to truly find his calm in the pocket. So I understand why Bush is going with the other kid. He had 10 of 18 for 160, no touchdowns and interception. Vandergriff had a touchdown and a pick, threw for 51 yards. I thought Wilcox ran the ball really hard, ran the ball really well. Sumo Kumbarye had some nice carries, but it just wasn't going to be enough because Quintravius Wisener in space, either being handed the football, thrown the football, like whatever it is, he's going to find a way to get positive yards. He and Jaden Blue were both great. I mean, Wisener went 26 for 158. I thought the Kentucky defensive line was standing up too much. I thought when they were asked to do things on the move that there wasn't enough tenacity with it. I did think that linebackers were pretty good. Dumas Johnson had a good game. Alex Afaria being asked to play down, I thought he did some good things, but it's once again, physically wasn't what you would expect up front from a Mark Stoops coach football team. Did attempt to get the ball to some of the playmakers, but Barryon Brown, 1 catch, Dane Key, 3 catches. You hand it to Barryon Brown a couple times. It's just got to be more. And they got one explosive out of it. Macklin got an explosive play, but those two just got to get more touches. They have to. They have to find a way to catch the ball more. You got ball security's got to be better. Multiple Kentucky players putting the ball on the ground just can't have it. Tough loss for the Wildcats. They go to 4-7. Texas 10-1, playing for a spot in the SEC championship game this week. Against Georgia. Georgia will go. Hey, guys, don't forget about our friends at the Better Business Bureau of Alabama, bbb.org, Central South Alabama. They have offices in Birmingham, in Montgomery. They want to help your business. Foot traffic to your store, web traffic to your website. They want to help you out. They can help you build a website. They can help generate more traffic to your website. Digital billboards. They can help you with that. They just want your business to be better. Served over 3,000 businesses in Alabama. They understand the need for customers, and they understand how that's changing. The landscape is changing. That's why digitally, they put a lot of emphasis on how they can help you there. Even if you have a storefront, you better be engaged online, whether it's social media, your website, how to get more traffic there and to your storefront. Go to bbb.org today, put your zip code in, and see what the Better Business Bureau can do for you. Georgia beats UMass 59-21. There's not a ton to get into in this game. Carson Beck was sharp. Nate Frazier ran the ball really well. He trucked a couple guys in this game. Offensive line run the ball early pretty good, but then pass pro just breakdowns, tackles breakdowns. Like they've got to clean up the technique out there. Arian Smith, 3 for 110. He had a big game. Defensively, I know everybody's mad. A lot of this was, first off, this Massachusetts offense, they give you a lot to look at. Mobile quarterbacks, so there's quarterback reads, a lot of different things that they're kind of looking at. They crisscross a lot of the stuff. There's a lot of triple option veer principles there, so you can get lost in it. Do I think the intensity was where it needed to be for Georgia? No. But I do think that they were pulled out of some plays with their eyes, and that's just it. It kind of goes that way. They had a couple explosive runs, an explosive pass. This wasn't like 4 quarters of them moving the ball. I'm not overly concerned about it. Apparently, a lot of other people are. Warren Brinson, great again. I'm going to say it. MVP of the defense. Don't care. He got good pass rush. He got a couple of good bull rushes in there. He's eating up double teams. Like, he makes it go. And one of the reasons I feel okay saying that is I can remember a couple of those interior guys that didn't get the credit they deserved, and Kirby would be like, he's the guy that makes it go. He's the one that makes it happen. So I know that coaching staff's probably waiting for that guy to be there, and Warren has stepped up and been that guy this year. Michael Williams had some good reps off the edge. I thought they played fast over there. It's just some of that speed took themselves out of plays. Like Roman talks about it on the show tonight. Like when you come up and there's that rugby scrum, you can't overcommit to one side of it because that thing bounces off the other side. All of a sudden, nobody's home. Your contain's gone and it's all busted. Chambliss had a couple nice plays, but got out of position a little bit. Either way, you handle your business. 59-21, take the win, go get prepared for Georgia Tech, which this weekend, I do think some of that visual deception, Buster Faulkner's going to put a plan together with that. And you've got mobility at a lot of positions. You got speed at a lot of positions. Be careful with that one, Georgia. Just saying, be careful with that one. Georgia should have a big edge offensively, though, heading into that game. But the rushing yards are good for Georgia Tech this year. Tennessee 56-0 over UTEP. Nico, slow start, began to find it a little bit. A couple protection breakdowns late, missed a pressure or two. They got him on the move, and they ran him a couple times, and then I felt like he settled in and got comfortable. He finished at 17-23, 209, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Ran a couple of times, 7 for 36 as well. Dylan Sampson, 11 for 71. He couldn't really get the big ones going, but he caught a couple nice runs. The offensive line was pretty good, kind of sloppy, missed a couple things out on the perimeter. Tenacity was there. Physicality was there. I thought Cooper Mays had one of his better games I've seen this year. He played really well. Brew McCoy, good game. Defensively for Tennessee, Boo Carter was flying around. Defensive line, solid. Listen, you pitch a shutout against anybody, it's good. You hold anybody on 100 yards rushing, it's good. I don't care what anybody says about it. Ball security, got to get better. Take care of the football as far as throwing the ball in traffic and holding onto the football. Can't keep putting the ball on the ground. Like, it just can't happen. But I thought that Tennessee, James Pierce showed up big. He was big in this game. Didn't do a whole lot as far as moving guys around and didn't really show a ton offensively. Similar with Georgia. Like, Georgia's plan and Tennessee's plan were nice because, like, they gave you the bootlegs, they gave you the end arounds, but it wasn't like all this different motion and all these different splitters and all this stuff. It was kind of like show it, run it, call it, run it, even though there was a variety of different plays that were called. It just, you didn't go out of your way to overcomplicate it. And I appreciated that about both those offensive staffs in those kind of games. Tennessee gets Vandy. Just get your explosive plays and you'll be fine. Tennessee hits some of the big shots. They're going to be fine in this game. They should be able to play fewer numbers up front against that Vanderbilt offense and allow some of those speedy linebackers to be able to make plays, and they should be okay. South Carolina 56-12 over Wofford. I like the plan that they came in with. Once again, I think this is an offense that got a couple big hitters on them, and that was about it. It wasn't just moving the ball up and down the field, 33 yards rushing. Dylan Stewart was humming off the edge in this game. I mean, like, I don't know if they told him the snap count or if, like, he just knew it. But, man, he was flying off the edge. I thought the safeties came down, played the run well. Boogie Huntley, Kyle Kennard played well. Kennard was getting off the edge pretty good too. They played fast. The linebackers attacked downhill. Debo Williams downhill. It was good to see the physicality from those guys. Brian Thomas continues to give this defense good reps. Not a lot of people talk about him. He's not as explosive as the other guys, but he gives them really good depth reps with what they've got up front with some of the things that they need to do. Having a good year. Sellers, once again, a little bit of a slow start, shaky start, but got going. Dowell gave him some comfortable throws, like out of fakes and different things and over the middle of the field. That kind of got it opened up. Not individually dominant in the run game. They spread the wealth a little bit, but they run 46 times for 265 yards and 5 touchdowns. You're good. Spread the wealth around, receiving too, played a lot of different guys, handled their business, not a ton to talk about. It was a pretty easy watch on film because there wasn't much to complain about and pick apart. All right, finally, not finally, we got a couple more to get to, but Ole Miss, Florida, we got to get into that one. Jackson Dart, 24-41, 323, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He got greedy late. He was pressing late. It's his fault, but I don't really blame him. He's just trying to make a play. Got locked in a couple times, and I understand it. Could not consistently get the run going. 35 for 141, but that was Jackson Dart for 71. Micah Davis for 27, JJ Pegues for 19. So, like, it wasn't the traditional run game that Ole Miss usually is able to counter with. Why? Well, that's an easy answer. Cam Jackson would be one. I think Jack Pyburn would be another. Caleb Banks would be another. Tyreek Sapp would be another. Florida's D-line kicked their ass. I don't know another way to say it. I mean, Cam Jackson was two-gapping, throwing guys off of him, making plays. Caleb Banks, sometimes unblocked. When he wasn't, he was able to generate a pass rush. They did not have to overcommit to get pressure. They did not have to overcommit with numbers to stop the run. George Gums had some good reps off the edge. Thought the linebackers were flying around. This is the weird part about the Texas game for Florida. It's a complete anomaly because nobody on the perimeter tackled anybody. They were great. They came up and played great against LSU a couple weeks ago. They played great in this game, like made one-on-ones on the perimeter, flying up, making plays, whether it was Bridges, whoever. They did a great job in the open field. But I thought that Florida defense, it started up front, man. And like that gave the defensive staff extra numbers on the back end to disguise and hide and do different things. And they won with numbers on the back end because of what the front was doing. Offensively, I thought the offensive line managed a really talented defensive line. I did think with a lot of the stunts and the movement with that Ole Miss defensive line, if it didn't work initially, they kind of, a lot of second and third effort wasn't what you want it to be. I thought Jackson Dart played his rear end off other than the last couple series. Played tough, played physical. He got hit. He didn't care. He competed. I give him a lot of credit for that. You lose your best receiver. You lose an offensive lineman. It's going to be tough. Your offense just isn't going to go the same way. But for Florida, Montrell Johnson was great. Jaden Ball, fantastic. I love the physical aspect of getting downhill with this run game. Even on toss sweeps, you could tell it was toss, get outside, get north and south. And like I said, the offensive line did just enough to hold off that defensive line. And DJ Lagway's a dude. DJ Lagway is that guy. Like Roman Harper talked to me tonight about how Cam Newton was one of those guys that brought everybody up. And he said that was the only guy he ever played with that everybody else raised their level of play. I think DJ has some of that in him where there's this belief that goes around where guys just believe that they can make plays and they play better and they do things they don't normally do. This young man, the arm angles, the throwing off platform, I mean, the little Dan Quisenberry, like Steve Bedrosian, Dennis Eckersley, like whoop on the little screen. I don't know how he got it out. I don't know how he kept it up to get to that back the way that it did over to the side. Then the out route, he's got a guy hanging off of him. He can't step into the throw, another guy in his face, and he shoots that thing out like this. He's like, fa, and literally, boop, right in the receiver's hands. This dude's big time. And I told you last week, the thing to be most impressed with was DJ Lagway's awareness. He knows how to move in the pocket. He manipulates it well. He holds the ball long enough to keep plays alive down the field. He can break you down with his legs. He's just got it, man. Like some people have it and they know where to throw it, when to throw it, how to throw it. Here's what this is weird. You're going to think I'm crazy for this. I'll tell you where I was most impressed with DJ Lagway in this game. His checkdowns. And I'm dead serious. One, the tempo of the football on the checkdowns. He didn't throw them 100 miles an hour like some of these younger kids do. 2, he knew exactly where they were. So if he is on the move, if he is scrambling, if he does have pressure, I mean, there's one, the guy is literally hitting him and he spits it out like this and gets it to him right over the middle of the field. But when you know where your check down is, it gives you more time to look at other things and potentially make a big play. And then at the last second, you almost don't have to look at him. You can just go ahead and start throwing it and then, oh yeah, boom, get it there. He did it like 5 or 6 times in this game. Brilliant with how he did it. It sounds crazy, but the most impressive thing DJ Lagway did in this game was operate his checkdowns. I know, I'm stupid, but that's the way that I think. The Ole Miss offensive line, they got their rear ends handed to them. Perkins still played great. Walter Nolan did some good things. Princely off the edge. The stuff after the game can't happen. Sorry. It just can't happen. It's no. I thought the linebackers overran some things for Ole Miss. I thought they were a little too aggressive at times, and that allowed a lot of second effort yards by the Florida running backs. But man, this was who brought more fight to the party won the game. That's the way I saw it. And it was a great game plan. It was great. It was a great execution up front by the Florida defensive line. And I thought Billy called a great game offensively. But this is a huge win for Billy, a huge win for Florida. Got a chance to get to 7 with multiple wins in November, and a lot of people said they would win no games in November. They're now up to 2, by the way, and they're going to get that one this weekend. They'll beat Florida State. We didn't even really preview that game. I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, Florida's going to beat Florida State. Massive loss for Ole Miss. I don't understand some of the getting cute. You got a receiver at fullback who gets blown up by Jack Pyburn, kind of trying to split him. You've got Jackson Dart as a lead blocker on a play. Like, I would have gotten out of the way of that guy too. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to help you on that one. I can't explain it. I'm sorry. Missouri takes down Mississippi State, 39-20. Not indicative, I don't believe, of how it looks, because Mississippi State gave them fits in a lot of ways. Stretch play took a long time to get going. They ran for 207, but it was on 53 carries. Nate Noel, 25 for 95. There was space there that was closed down quickly a lot of the time. But I appreciate Missouri staying with it. They didn't bail on it. They stuck with their game plan. Michael Van Buren's got it, dude. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's close. Like, he's got to protect the ball a little bit more. Can't put it on the ground. Got to be careful on a couple throws. But that downhill run game with Davin Booth was going. I mean, it was cooking. They had it. He'd give a little shake. He'll give you spin. He'll run you over. He's a really good back. Really good back. The offensive line played fairly well. Center played good again. But I'm just telling you, man, like, when you watch it, it's like, it's not consistent. It's not. But there are flashes when you're like, wow, this looks pretty good. Because he's got some receivers like Achille Akari, Kevin Coleman can freaking go. Now, they're one of those teams right now where 1 or 2 guys screws up on every play, and it's really costly. Whereas a Georgia or a Texas, the one guy screws up, and it's like, well, it's still an 8-yard gain. Okay, it's not that big a deal. Like, they get their quarterback blasted and the ball comes flying out. Or it's a 4-yard loss. Or it's an 80-yard run that you give up. But they did actually limit some of the explosives that I feel like could have been there. I liked Kirby Moore going to Luther Burden early, like, let's get 3 going now, right out of the gate. Boom, 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 let him touch the ball. They got him going. Theo East made some good plays. Brady Cook's tough, man. I give him a lot of credit for going, because they asked him to move a lot too. He's got the bum ankle still with the hand. 15 of 20, 268, a touchdown, no picks. He ran it a couple times. But I'll just say this, like, Missouri had to fight for this game. They did. And if you watched it and you think different, great. Like, this is what I saw. I thought the Missouri offensive line did a pretty good job with all the movement and the run-throughs and the pressures. Like, and sometimes I don't even know if it's intentional how State, like, does a lot of the different stuff that they do. But I do think Mississippi State, that defensive coaching staff, they dialed up some nice pressures. Like, they disguised them well. They brought him from places you weren't expecting, and they got to him. They forced the ball out, got to him a little bit, like, made him throw early, made him move off the spot. Now, they didn't get him to the ground enough, and they didn't hit him enough, but they forced him to be uncomfortable. Stone Blanton was good. Now they're asking him to play out in the edge, in the alley a little bit. He had some trouble with some pullers out there, but either way, he plays hard, does some good things. Hunter Washington is a kid I love to watch play. 21. Good Lord, he flies around. Like, I mean, he has zero concern for his body. None. Like, he would come up and try to hit a UPS truck if it was in front of him. He does not care. Literally does not care. Nick Mitchell inside some good things. DeMonte Russell inside some good things. So it's coming along. I think this team will be totally different next year. And that doesn't mean win 10 games, but like they'll just be totally different from a result standpoint because the plays are there, the effort's there. It's just together, it's not all working just yet. Off the edge for Missouri, I thought 15, Johnny Walker Jr. had another good game, did some good things outside, rushing the passer. I thought Tristan Newsom, 14, had a good game. Now, y'all know my guy is Marvin Burks, but he missed a couple. He came flying down, and it's what their coordinator told us last week. Like, sometimes his eyes play tricks on him, and he's got to, like, back off. He's got to pull back on that just a little bit. Kind of just chill out some. Christian Williams was good inside for Missouri as well. Listen, it's a conference win on the road that still gives you a chance for a 10-win season, and that's massive. Missouri gets Arkansas next week. Arkansas took out Louisiana Tech, 35-14. Big day for Taylon Green, 20 of 37, 221, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Here's why Taylon Green has a big day. Because Rashad Dubinion goes for 112 and Jaquindon Jackson went for 55. So that opens everything up for him. He's able to use the intermediate throws. He's able to hit Andrew Armstrong down the field if he needs to. And they didn't have a lot of big gains through the air. Isaac Tesla, a couple touchdowns. But then that allows him to run a little bit too. Leave the pocket, design runs, move the pocket, option to throw, option to run. That was all there the entire time. Defense, I thought, was really solid up front. Listen, Landon Jackson, guys, I think has played 633 snaps this year. It's like 100 more than any other edge defender I can find. It is insane to do what he does, move inside some, play outside, chase balls, run down screens, get to the quarterback, take double teams, to have played that many snaps this year. We call these guys warriors sometime. Landon Jackson's a friggin' warrior. Good Lord. I thought Xavier Story was flying around. He did some good things. They didn't get the quarterback down as much as you wanted to, but 3 sacks, I think, on the game. And I didn't think that Travis had to put a glamorous game plan together for this. Played a lot of it straight up. Knew what they were going to be able to do individually and get their wins that way. I did want on offense to use a tight end a little bit more. There's one thing I was a little bit disappointed in. But you get to bowl eligible, man. You're 6-5. That's a big win for Arkansas. And so now you got a chance. You got Missouri next week. You know, what that one going to look like? And get to 7, maybe 8 with a bowl would be a hell of a season, I think. I don't remember what their total was, but I want to say it was like 4. Not a lot of people had a lot of confidence in what they were going to be able to do this upcoming season. So we'll fast forward, take a quick look ahead to next week. All right, Egg Bowl. All I'm going to say is this. Okay, so I wondered what it was going to look like for those teams that were sort of out of the playoffs last year, and a lot of them passed, like Missouri, pass. LSU, pass. A lot of those teams that were somewhat eliminated, South Carolina a couple weeks ago, pass. We'll see about Ole Miss, because I'm just going to tell you, the way State does some things can be problematic. Can be problematic. And they play hard, and they're going to play hard in this one. They've had it circled. Georgia, let your eyes be intelligent in this game. If they play disciplined football defensively and they're in the right places, I think they win this game. It's going to be hard because you're going to get a lot of window dressing. Auburn, Jarquez Hunter has to have it 25 to 30 times in this game. You will not win with as much of the zone stuff, mid, inside, outside zone. It's going to have to be more gap scheme. But Oklahoma just had a lot of success with that. I'll be interested to see what defense Kane Womack wants to play. I assume he'll try to put the game in Peyton Thorne's hands. Does he give the Auburn receivers one-on-ones? If so, that might be enough for Auburn to get some explosives. I think that game's competitive because I think Auburn's defensive front can give Alabama some problems. What do they do at right tackle? How much help do they have to give him? Are they in the 3rd and longs? Because I promise you this, DJ Durkin is going to throw everything at Jalen Miller to try to confuse him and try to make him make bad decisions. Vanderbilt, you have to win time of possession in this game. You cannot give Tennessee a chance at multiple explosives. You have to limit those chances. If you can do that, you may be able to get, because Nico has shown he will throw incompletions. I don't know if they can just get to him, but there's a chance for run through. and some games up front to work because there's so much gap scheme that Tennessee runs, Vanderbilt, get Dylan Sampson on the ground. And if I'm not mistaken, was it not a couple of years ago where Dylan Sampson busted out as a backup running back and ran for like 7,000 yards in this game? So tackle Dylan Sampson, get Eli Stowers more involved, try not to have to win this game from the pocket. South Carolina, be the better offensive line. Plain and simple in this game, I think the better offensive line wins. We know South Carolina's D-line can rip. You may not have watched Clemson. Their D-line can rip. Cade Klubnik is playing much better than people give him credit for. I think Klubnik's got 29 touchdowns and 4 picks this year. He's having a good year. He got off to a slow start. He's having a good year. Moffa's over 1,000 yards rushing. But they can neutralize that with veterans in the secondary, war daddies at linebacker, and a stud defensive line. Clemson has really come a long way this year. It's going to be tough there, but Lenore Sellers' legs, I think, are the difference. I like South Carolina to win that game. Louisville, Kentucky. Tyler Shuck's got as much arm talent as anybody in college football. I don't feel good about this one for Kentucky because they hadn't generated the pass rush that they need to. Defensive line has kind of started to wear down towards the end of the season. I think Louisville probably runs the ball. Don't love their chances there. Arkansas at Mizzou. Arkansas's got to slow down the stretch play. Landon Jackson's got to set a hard edge. If they spike it like A&M did, great, but you need to make it go away quick. You need to turn their offense to something else before that play gets going. And if I'm Travis Williams, I'd go after Brady Cook. I don't think he's super mobile right now. I think he's got the hand and the ankle. You try to get some hits on him and see if you can rattle him just a little bit more because you know you feel probably good with Drew Pine coming in the game. Florida will beat Florida State. We don't need to go into the details on it. Oklahoma's defense will get after LSU. Don't give up explosives if you're Oklahoma. Keep the back end back. Keep everything in front of you. And I think you have a chance to win this game. Now, offensively, how much can Oklahoma really get? Because this is a defense that I think has talent, plays a little bit different ways. Don't let Weeks get going. Don't let Braden Swinson take over. This is another one. LSU 6-point favorite at home, I think, is more competitive than people believe. I really think it's going to be tight. And for Texas A&M, be who you are. Be yourself. Don't try to be an air raid football team. Don't try to throw the ball 60 times. Go in there and establish the run. Try to establish the line of scrimmage. I'll tell you this right now. It's not happening between the tackles. It just isn't. The Texas defensive tackles, the interior of that defensive line is the most underrated position group in the SEC. By far. By far. No one gives them credit, and they deserve a ton of it. Who's in at quarterback? I think you have a more mobile option if it's Arch Manning. I imagine Quinn goes if at all possible. But you heard me say it earlier. The key to the game, second and third level of the A&M defense, tackle on the perimeter. You get those ball carriers to the ground, you have a great chance to win this football game. Guys, it's going to be an amazing week/weekend of football. Be back Sunday to cap it all off. I'm going to be back in Baton Rouge, Oklahoma, LSU. Then I'll fly to Charlotte, and we'll break it all down for you again. Man, it's been a fun year. I appreciate so much you guys tuning into this show, telling other people about this show. The comments every week are amazing. There's not much positivity going around in the college football media, and you guys are great every week. And I just want you to know, I'm thankful for you guys. It's Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays of the year. I love Thanksgiving dinner, lunch, brunch, whatever you call it, but it's some of my favorite food. I love being with my family. We'll go to my wife's parents' house in Decatur. Rick and Meg and the gang, like they're awesome. We'll get some strawberry pretzel salad. If you haven't had it, get somebody in your house to make it. I'll make my little Thanksgiving sandwiches with the biscuits, and we will be rolling, and then I'll head to Baton Rouge on Friday. But seriously, I want to let you guys know I'm thankful for you. I do appreciate you. You're a great audience. You're a fun audience. And this was long today. I apologize for that. I tried to get through them quick because it was a lot of games. Some didn't need as much time. Some things needed explanations and discussion, and we were going to do that. We were going to have that. Also appreciate our sponsors, and we'll be back next week.